My name is John Carter. There was a time when I thought my life was perfect. I had everything I could ever want. A beautiful wife who was my best friend, a son who was the light of my life, and a small but cozy home filled with love and laughter. Every evening, after a long day at work, I would pick up my guitar and play. Music was my passion, my escape. My wife would hum along, my son would clap his little hands, and in those moments, I felt like the luckiest man alive. But life has a way of testing you in ways you can never prepare for. One rainy evening, my wife was on her way home from picking up our son's birthday cake. A distracted driver ran a red light, and just like that, she was gone. I can still remember the moment I got the call. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. She was my rock, my partner, the glue that held our family together. And now, she was gone. Losing her was the beginning of a downward spiral. The medical bills for her treatment and funeral piled up, and I couldn't keep up. I was drowning in debt, and as hard as I tried to stay strong for my son, I was barely holding on. I had to sell our home to pay off the bills. And when I couldn't find a steady job, things only got worse. The day I lost custody of my son was the day I hit rock bottom. The court said I couldn't provide a stable environment for him, and they were right. But in knowing that didn't make it any less devastating. Watching him walk away, clutching his favorite teddy bear, broke something inside me. For 2 years, the streets became my home. Every day was a fight for survival, scrounging for food, trying to find shelter, and battling the overwhelming sense of loneliness. I used to sit in crowded parks or under empty bridges, staring at the world around me and wondering if anyone even noticed me. I felt invisible, like a shadow moving through a world that didn't care. But through all of it, there was one thing that kept me going: my music. My guitar became my only companion, my voice the only thing that reminded me I was still alive. I started singing on street corners, not for money, but because it gave me a sense of purpose. Some days, people would stop to listen, and for a few moments, I didn't feel so alone. I'll never forget the little boy who tugged at his mother's sleeve and said, "Mom, he sings like an angel." That small comment stayed with me on nights when I felt like giving up. Music became my lifeline, the one thing no one could take away from me. One day, as I was singing on a busy street, a stranger stopped to listen. When I finished, they handed me a flyer for a local talent show. "Your voice deserves to be heard," they said. I stared at that piece of paper for days, unsure if I had the courage to show up. How could someone like me, a homeless man with nothing to his name, stand on a stage meant for stars? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I had nothing to lose. That night, sitting under a flickering street lamp, I strummed my guitar and decided on the song I would sing. It wasn't just a song, it was my story. When the day of the audition came, I was terrified. Walking into the venue, surrounded by people who looked polished and confident, I felt like I didn't belong. But I reminded myself why I was there. This wasn't just about me. It was about my son, my wife's memory, and the dream I thought I had lost. As I stepped onto the stage, the lights blinded me, and I could barely see the audience. My hands trembled as I held the microphone, but I took a deep breath and began. "My name is John Carter," I said, my voice shaking. "For the past 2 years, I've been homeless. Music is the only thing that's kept me alive. Tonight, I want to share that with you." The first notes of Hallelujah filled the room, and everything else faded away. I wasn't singing for fame or recognition. I was singing for survival, for hope, for the pieces of myself I thought I'd lost forever. Every word carried the weight of my pain, my love, and my dreams. As I sang, I could feel the room change. It was as if the audience wasn't just hearing my voice. They were feeling my story. When the final note faded, the silence was deafening. For a moment, I thought I had failed. Then the room erupted in applause. People stood clapping and cheering, tears streaming down their faces. I stood there overwhelmed, my hands shaking as I gripped the microphone. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a homeless man, but as someone who mattered. Backstage, I sat alone with my guitar, the applause still echoing in my ears. Tears streamed down my face as I thought about my journey. The cold nights, the moments of despair, and the small acts of kindness that had brought me to this point. That stage didn't just give me a chance to sing, it gave me back my hope. Since that night, my life has started to change. People who saw my performance reached out, offering support and encouragement. I found a small place to live, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. But the most important thing is that I've reconnected with my son. Seeing him smile again feels like a miracle. If my story teaches anything, it's that no matter how far you fall, you can rise again. Talent, hope, and resilience are powerful things. Life will knock you down, but if you keep fighting, you'll find your way back. For me, music saved my life. It gave me a reason to keep going, and now it's helping me build a future. I'm still on this journey, but one thing is clear. I'll never stop singing, because even in the darkest moments, there's always a song waiting to be sung.